Hello henna lovers, in today's video I'm going to teach you two different kinds of mandalas, and I'm also going to share some henna hacks with you during this video. So watch this video until the end and stay with me. Let's begin. Welcome back to my channel, ladies. So let's begin with our first mandala for today. So there are two ways of drawing mandala. The one which begins from the center and it keeps on expanding, and the second one is which starts from the outer layer or the bigger circle first, and then we can fill in the circle with the intricate fillings or grids or patterns like that. So let me begin with the first one, where I'm going to put this dot, and around that dot I would be drawing a small circle. Then after, one more small circle. So while drawing these circles, all you need to keep in mind is that you're not supposed to go too far away from the first circle that you have drawn. And in terms of getting that correct, you have to keep an eye on the previous circle while drawing the next one. And to achieve that perfection in the circle, as I have shown, you can draw half C, like a half C pattern from this point to this, and then connect the other half from here. Because if you try to do that in a one stroke, you may tend to go wrong. So this is the perfect way to draw a the proportionate circle. Just to explain that again, I'm drawing one more circle around it. This is how you do. Okay, now around this circle I would be drawing a bump line. So if you have watched my previous tutorial video where I have taught three different types of bump lines and how to use them and all, you would realize that this is number 2 bump that I'm using here. It's all up to you which bump you would like to use in your mandala, depending on if you are doing it for a bride or for a guest. So I'm done here with the bump line around the circle. They call it bumps or humps, whatever, but there are 3 different types. Which types are those? If you are unsure, I would recommend you watching my previous tutorials where I have clarified these doubts about these bump lines. Now I'm just completing another big bump here. So while drawing these bumps, these bigger ones, all you need to make sure is that either if you want them to be connected, make sure they all remain connected, and if you want to have a gap in between them, then you do it accordingly. But never break that consistency. It's perfectly fine if you are drawing one extra bump here, or going a little smaller one. That's perfectly fine. To make it correct is that you have to decide in the first place whether you are going to draw the one which are connected, touched with each other, or they are having any a little gap between each of them. So consistency is the key. If you are not able to get these one correct, then there is another way. We can draw a thin line, we can trace a line or a half circle, just the way we have drawn previous circles. Likewise, making sure that we're not going too far away from the previous previous circle. And then you can draw, or you can drip a line over it. So this technique I have shown in my very first henna tutorial video, where I have taught two different types of or techniques of drawing a straight line. So this is how we draw a straight line. Now it's up to you if you want to fill this up or if you want to keep it empty. So just to save on to the time, I'm keeping it empty. If you want to fill it in, you can always go for it. Now again, I'm drawing another circle around it. So how many circles to draw around, or like which element next you would like to place it, it all depends on your creativity. There is no any hard and fast rule as such. So now I'm drawing another bump line over here. If you want to know like what rule I follow, or what is something that is required to do while drawing these mandalas, I would say the bump line. Never ever draw any bigger element without having a bump line as a base. Why? Because these bump lines are something that are going to give the elegant look to your design. When you complete the design in the eventually, like the final design, you're going to see that difference. You may want to try drawing the same kind of elements with bump lines and without bump lines, and you would be able to see the difference. Again, there is no right or wrong in that. It all depends upon the person who is drawing it. It all depends upon their creativity and their own choice or preference. But according to me, these bump lines help look your design pretty elegant with even with the simple elements. So now comes to draw this one with the final element in my this particular mandala. So I'm drawing a classic mandala where I would be drawing another floral kind of this. It's a bump line again, but I would give it a floral look. And so how to get these things perfect, I would show you. So first of all, you may want to make a marking like this, like right across each other, and then draw these circles. Likewise, if you are a beginner, if you always go wrong with your mandalas getting correct or getting perfectly circular, then this is a trick that you can use. So you can make these markings or little tracing over here, and then you can draw whichever element you would want to draw. I'm just drawing simple swirl here, and I'm going to show a simple classic mandala. Okay, and the other thing over here is that I am holding this tube in a bit of an angle. I'm not holding it up straight, neither I am holding it too close to the tip of the tube, neither I am holding it too away, or neither I'm holding it like as if squishing it like that. So I'm just giving it a little angle. You can call it as a 45-degree angle, and I'm drawing these swirls without touching the tip of the tube to the skin underneath, or the board right now that I'm using. So here I am making sure that the tip of the tube is little hovered on the skin. So if you are touching the tip of the tube to the skin, then you are going to have a different effect in your design. How? That I would show you in my next mandala. So this is how I'm drawing these bumps over here. making sure that they all are connected to each other. Even if I take a break, I am making sure that I begin from the previous bump or hump and then proceeding further. So you can do this in breaks, like one bump each. Likewise, like as you see here, I'm stopping and drawing the next one, I'm stopping and drawing the next one and the next one. Or, I'm sorry about that little shake over here, or you may want to go in a continuous pattern without stopping or without taking a break in between. Whichever technique works best for you, you can tell me that in comment. Likewise, or like this. See, they all look similar. Although I have used two different techniques, though they all look similar, because one thing that I kept common or standard is that I always made sure that my next bump is attached to the previous bump, and I prefer drawing the bumps which are blunt at the tip. They aren't like this. All my bumps are like this, like a small U shape and not V shape. So according to me, V shape bumps doesn't look as elegant as the U shape one. Okay, like this. So mine are never like this. My bumps never go like this. They would always be in this fashion. You may want to give it a try drawing two different styles, and you can choose yours, whichever one you like. Okay, so I'm just wiping this off so that I can show you a nice elegant mandala. So again, on top of it, I am drawing a big hump over here. So while doing this, what I'm actually doing is that I'm increasing the pressure on the tube. So in my first tutorial, I have taught how to put the pressure, which finger to use to put the pressure on the tube. If you haven't watched that yet, I would highly recommend you to watch my first tutorial video, and then after start practicing or implementing these further techniques, because that's the very basic thing that we need to draw nice and elegant henna designs. Those are the techniques and those are the tips that I have given in that particular video. So I'm increasing the pressure here and drawing these petals. Again, here you may want to keep them connected or disconnected. It's all up to you, but whatever you decide, just stick to that. So you cannot draw one petal like these petals connected and then in the next one you are drawing let me better show you here. So you are not supposed to draw petals like this. It's gonna look weird. You see what I mean? It's gonna look weird here. So you're not supposed to do this. Consistency is the key. Consistency is everything. So whichever thing you decide, you just patiently keep on following your decision about the element that you are willing to incorporate in your design. So decide and go accordingly. If all of a sudden you tend to change the element or the pattern, then the design is gonna look messy. So here, just to give it a more elegant look, I'm going to add some strokes over here. Now how to draw these strokes, how to apply the pressure while drawing these strokes, that I have again taught in my previous video of strokes, elegant strokes. So I would suggest you to watch that video and you would definitely be able to draw these nice, tiny and beautiful looking strokes that we always draw for classic mandala. Okay, so let's quickly finish this one and then we will move on to our next mandala. All right, oops. Okay, so that's how our first classic mandala is completed. So in this next mandala, I'm going to begin from the outer circle first. So again, as I have shown in the previous mandala, I am going to draw a half circle or a mirror image of C. You can call it a mirror image of C as well. And then I'm going to connect the previous half circle likewise. So this is how we get it. We get the rightly proportionate circle. Now I am going to drape a line over that tracing like this, and from here again I'm connecting like that. So if you do not want your line to break, you have to keep in mind that the pressure that you are putting with your thumb is constant. The major reason behind broken line is that somehow knowingly you are not putting right amount of pressure with your thumb onto the tube, and that is why you find broken lines in your design. So that is something you always have to take care. So I'm drawing with the external circle, and now I'm moving further with the inner circle. Again, while drawing this one, you have to keep an eye on the outer circle. Make sure that you're not going too far away from that previous line. If you feel you're not comfortable enough to move further in a continuous motion, you can definitely stop, take a break, and then resume back from the same point where you left, and just keep on continuing until you finish it off likewise. Okay, now here I would show you number 1 bump line that I have drawn. So while drawing this bump line, you have to make sure that you do not have a tracing outside. So how do you get it correct? So the trick is that you keep on giving a little angle to your tip of the tube. As you see here, if I go from left side, which I usually don't do, but just to show you, I am kind of giving a little angle instead of going outside. What mistake usually beginners do is that, I will show you here, just draw a simple circle and I'll explain that to you. So what they do is that they would draw a bump like this, and they tend to go out and out, or like this, and that's what gonna give it a messy look. So make sure that your fingers or your wrist is under control, and to keep that control you need to begin slow. So when you are drawing, or when you're practicing in the beginning, when you draw a circle and begin with the bump, go slow, stay connected with the previous one, and your intention is to return back to this circle. You are supposed to return back to the circle and not going too far away. The moment you start realizing that, oh, I'm going too far away from the circle, you have to somehow manage to bring your motion back to it. So this is how you get it correct. So this is a mistake. Don't go too far or don't go too away. You have to stay connected and stay as close as possible to the circle. Okay, so let me quickly finish this off. So here again, as this is a fuller tube, as you see, this is a fuller tube. I have just started drawing henna with this one today. So I am holding it a little away from the tip. I usually hold it here, like in the center, but as this is fuller one, and I am also trying to get this action into the camera, so I need to be a little away from the camera. So that's why I'm using it, or I'm holding it little away from it. And this also helps when you're using a fuller tube. But when you kind of run out of the paste and you need to squish it, you need to roll the rest of the tube or the paper, then you definitely want to go or want to hold your tube a little closer to the tip. I just realized that I was going to show you the 3 number bump line, which is skin touched. Let me think, how can I show you? Let me finish this one first. Okay, there we go. Quick. All right. Okay, so this empty place I'm going to fill up with a grid, and there is one kind of grid that where I can show you the skin touched bump line. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I could literally feel that my tip of the tube is scratching, or it's kind of touching the skin or the board underneath. So here the pressure is pretty low, it's like a 0 pressure, and I am just giving my first finger, the index finger, a little motion and making sure that all the time I'm doing this, the tube is touching to the skin. So I'm draping the line like this, and then I'm going to draw a bump line. So the tip of the tube is literally scratching the skin, or it's like as we would scratch the tip of a lead pencil for shedding or something like that. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. So this is how we draw. This is how you can figure out the difference, why the number 1 bump line, number 2 bump line, or number 3 that I call it, because there is a difference, and there is a difference in the overall look of the design when you incorporate different types of bumps into the design. So this number 3 bump line is usually used in a bridal henna. So unfortunately in the previous mandala I couldn't record this part that I have done here, so there was some technical glitch because of which it couldn't record. So I have drawn another circle over here just similar to that, just to explain the last part of this particular mandala. Here what I want to explain you is that when you draw these kind of a grid here, you can put a dot or just to fill up that gap, you can either use this element or you can use a petal or a vine like this. So the important thing that I wanted to share here about this, about drawing these kind of fillings, is that always make sure that whichever element you are going to place on top of these hump line or a bump line, always make sure that you have got enough space everywhere in on every the horizontal line that you have drawn, or the every line you have created, you have drawn to create a grid, you have enough space there. So here in this particular one which I have drawn previously, I was not having enough space for the vines, so I decided to go with the dots, and as they were little closer to each other, I could not find that enough gap in between, so I decided to go with the dots, which were perfectly fitting onto the each stripe of that hump line. But as if you see here, I do have enough enough gap to draw these kind of vines, so I have decided to go with this, and I can complete it with this. So while drawing these also, you have to be very careful about the proportions, because you want to make sure that they are not squishing onto each other, nor they are squishing onto the other lines. So that is what you have to keep in mind while drawing these. Now let's come to the outer part, the outer element that I have drawn here. So here I'm just keeping it simple by drawing a small paisley like this. So here too, when you are drawing these kind of elements to finish off your mandala, you need to make sure that you are not going too far away. Your eventual motto is to stick with the hump line. That's how you are going to make your design look composed and proportionate. So it's okay if you draw a little bigger Paisly, like one of them, that's perfectly fine. In the beginning you may do that kind of a mistake, but always make sure that you are not going too far away from the hump line that you have created, and that's how we are going to complete, and eventually that's gonna look like this. So that's all I wanted to mention in the end of this particular video, and that's it for today. So friends, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, like and share it with your friends. And hey, don't forget to click on the bell icon to get the notification of my next henna tutorial video. Till then, keep hennaing. See you soon.